Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert's Report Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, finishing up some videos of some of the shows over the weekend. There are 4 shows left that I have not watched yet, including WrestleMania tonight. We'll get those done as soon as we can, and then we'll start some best ofs and kind of do some review of the whole weekend as a whole, kind of go over some of the best matches and stuff. This one is going to be LA Fights versus JCW. For those of you who are unknown to these two companies, these are both sister companies to Game Changer Wrestling, JCW. JCW is actually the original name for Game Changer Wrestling. When Brett Lauderdale bought it completely, they changed the name to Game Changer. They brought JCW back, Jersey Championship Wrestling, as kind of like a sister company, kind of a developmental kind of company on the East Coast. LA Fights is basically the West Coast sister for them. And so, because you have kind of independent rosters, you have the West Coast independent guys, you have the East Coast, Northeast independent guys. They decided to do LA Fights versus East versus West here. So yeah, what's really cool about this is you had the Team 1, JCW versus LA Fights, and you had individual matchups, all one versus the other. There was 8 matches, it ended up 4-4. So it's like they kind of tied, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, a lot of talent, a lot of independent talent here that come on these shows. Some of these names you probably heard of, some of them you haven't. I know there's a few names that I follow throughout the different, independent circuit basically, or independent companies. And I'll see a name like, oh, I know that name. I'm going to watch a show he's on. Then I find somebody else I like. Been doing that for 4 years now. That's how I've gotten to watch so much great independent wrestling. All right, so first match was the team match, JCW versus LA Fights. Representing JCW was Bam Sullivan, and then Young, Dumb and Broke, Charlie Tiger, Ellis Taylor, and Jordan Oliver. They call themselves Young, Dumb, and Broke, but they are young. They ain't dumb, and they ain't broke because they're talented as hell. And then they also teamed with Yokai, which is Janai Kai and Yoya. They went against Team LA Fights, which is Bad Dude Tito, Damian Drake, Hunter Freeman, Jordan Cruz, Lucas Riley, Matt Vandagriff, and Titus Alexander. The one cool thing about the LA Fights guys is a lot of those will be on NJPW Strong. And so they're getting some more exposure, some more talent there as well. So yeah, this was actually a really good matchup. It was elimination. It started off hot. It literally started off with Team LA Fights was outside the ring and Team JCW just jumped and just flew out of the ring, and it was on from there. Team JCW get the victory. I give it 3 1/4. Next up, we had Cole Radrick versus Kevin Blackwood. This was a really good match. Kevin Blackwood was one of my favorites right now. Any show I see him on, I do want to watch the whole show to see what's going on. He's the kind of guy that I think would fit in great with House of Black. What they've built there with Aleister Black and with Brody King. He reminds me of a smaller Brody King almost, kind of like a little bit skinnier than Buddy Matthews, but he would kind of fit in with those guys with all the tattoos and stuff. But yeah, so Team LA Fight, Cole Radrick ended up getting the victory on this one. I give it 3 1/4. Cole Radrick actually had a great matchup. One of the other shows he was on, he's been on so many shows this weekend. It was Planet Death. He got the victory there, which was surprising. Next up, Alec Price and Jack Cartwheel. Alec Price, I've been high on him for a while now. He's kind of, to me, like we've seen what Dino Garcia has done. Dino Garcia was on the Indies, was part of Beyond Wrestling. He ended up kind of making his way to AEW. He's kind of made his way to New Japan Strong. He's kind of being known. He's now with Jericho. He's kind of built himself up. He's had some really big wins. Alec Price is kind of the next guy like that to me. Like Lee Moriarty's kind of made his way to AEW and kind of made his way to Ring of Honor. Alec Price is somebody we need to watch out for over the next few years. Going up against Jack Cartwheel. Jack Cartwheel, he's been a top indie guy in the LA area in the West Coast. He got the victory here for LA Fights. 3 1/4 star match. Next up, 2 big hosses, Juicy Finau and Big Ven. Big Ven getting the victory over Juicy Finau. I give it 2 1/2. Next up, we had Nick Wayne, another young 16-year-old kid that actually recently signed with AEW. He's been doing a lot of stuff on the indies still. He's so young and uber talented. He's like a third-generation guy. I'm going against Marcus Matthews. Marcus Mathers. Nick Wayne getting the victory. I give it 3.5. He's going to be another one of those in the next 10 to 12 years. He's going to be, mainstream. He's going to be that kind of. I wouldn't quite put him as a Will Ospreay type, but he's going to be that kind of young, Jordan Oliver, Blake Christian, uber talented, who can do the high flying spot moves, but yet who can actually mat wrestle. Next up, we had Billie Starkz versus Sandra Moone. Billie Starkz getting a victory there in a 3-star match. Grim Reefer and B-Boy. This was a fight. B-Boy representing LA Fights and Grim Reefer representing JCW. Grim Reefer, if you've never seen him wrestle, he'll wrestle with a doobie in his mouth half the time. How he doesn't burn himself, I'll never know, but he does. B-Boy is just kind of that thug-looking kind of guy, I guess you would call him. Maybe the wrong word there, but I mean, he's kind of mean-looking. I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley, but yeah, go out there and he'll beat tar out of you. He'll probably beat tar out of me for saying that. But I give it the match 2 3/4, B-Boy getting the victory. And then finally, Dark Sheik and Charles Mason. This has been a crazy feud. 2 or 3 shows ago, they wrestled. Charles Mason put a bag over Dark Sheik's head, like a plastic bag, literally trying to kill her. She returned the favor at the next show, and then he did that here again, Charles Mason. And then Dark Sheik ended up actually getting the victory here. I give it 2 3/4. It's okay. It's like the feud has been better than some of the match quality, but overall it's not been bad at all. This was the first show on yesterday on 2 days ago on 4/1. LA Fights versus JCW. All right, we've reviewed that. So we're going to continue with this. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports channel content.